Survival hunters use traps and explosives, working with their pets to decimate their enemies. And I'm going to show you everything to succeed in the war within Season 1. We're going to start off looking at the stat priority. And before we get into it, I do want to say that this video is going to be very beginner friendly, while also super veteran friendly, if you will, giving a lot of depth as well. So you're all going to hit the ground running, hopefully, after this. Main stat is, of course, agility. We get a higher and higher eye level or item level to get more agility. These here are the secondary stats and the priority that you should loosely follow. Generally, a higher eye level is always going to be better unless you're comparing two items of the same eye level. So, with that being said, what are the secondary stats? Mastery is very interesting. For us survival hunters in the War Within, it's called Spirit Bond. You and your pet deal more damage and take reduced amounts of damage, and the bonus is increased by 100% when you are close together. So staying close to your pet means that you are actually going to get an increased value from that. So the more mastery you have, the more damage you and your pet do, and the less damage you both take. Critical Strike, of course, giving you a chance to do more damage. Haste is actually going to increase your attack speed, so how fast you're attacking, amongst a few other small things, and also your focus regeneration. That is the orange bar that you and your pet have here, and that's the main resource that we're spending to cast our attacks. Versatility is going to increase any damage and also healing done, and also reduce damage taken as well. Versatility and mastery being actually very similar for survival hunters. While we are here, I want to quickly go through the set bonus that we are getting in Season 1, which is the Lightless Scavenger's Necessities. The 2 set means our Wildfire Bomb damage is increased by 5%, and the 4 set bonus, Raptor Strike, deals increased amounts of damage to targets affected by Wildfire Bomb. So it really is revolving around our bombs and also our Raptor Strike. And if you don't know those abilities, I'll be covering them in full shortly in this video. So now we're going to look through some of the utilities and defensives and things like that that we have available to us as a hunter in the War Within. So I do want to just say, if you are a beginner watching, don't worry, I'm not going to show you every single spell. These are the ones that I think are really, really important that you should be aware of and using. There are, of course, other niche spells, and maybe if you are a beginner, when you're more comfortable with your rotation and how the build works, maybe just have a look through your spellbook and your talents on the hunter side on the left and just see what else you have available. But I don't think it's good to overwhelm yourself if you are. So, first up on the left, these are things that we're more doing to our enemies, and on the right is more things that are going to actually help us and our allies. Starting on the left then, we've got Freezing Trap. You can see that you can place this wherever you like, and you're going to fling it over there like that. Hurling a Frost Trap at the target location, and it's going to incapacitate the first enemy that touches it. You know, it's a trap. And this is going to actually last for an entire minute. So they're stuck there now for an entire minute, unless you do damage to them, at which point that is then going to stop the trap. We then have Counter Shot, and this is quite literally on a 24-second cooldown, our interrupt or kick. If you hear people using the word kick, it just means it's their interrupt. This is how we're going to interrupt our enemy's spellcasting, and that is really important to do. Beginners and veterans alike often overlook the importance of interrupting your enemy's spellcasting. And in Mythic Plus especially, and PvP, this is really, really important that you do this pretty much whenever you can. Sorry if you can hear that car alarm that's just started going off outside my house. And it's really, really important that you do that. We then have Concussive Shot, and this is actually going to slow your target for 50% for 6 seconds. Then we have Misdirection. This is a really interesting one. I actually love Misdirection. This is actually going to misdirect any threat that you cause to an ally. So I wonder if I can do it to a random person. No, they have to be in my group. Okay. Basically, I can click on an ally and I can be like, boom, I'm going to misdirect my threat to you. So when I'm attacking the enemy, if I'm doing loads of damage, like on pull, the threat will actually, the enemy will start attacking that other person because I'm directing my kind of aggression to that person rather than me. And then let's say you have accidentally got threat off an enemy and it's attacking you and not the person you want, or you've pulled an enemy that you didn't mean to and you've gone into combat. Well, we can actually use Feign Death. And this literally is where you play dead on the ground like this, and it will last up to 6 minutes. And it will take you out of combat, generally, and enemies will just ignore you. It is fantastic. It's one of the best abilities in the game, honestly. So, going on to the right-hand side, we've got Primal Rage. This is Bloodlust, or Heroism, as it's otherwise known. And you can see here, you've got a 10-minute cooldown, fatigued, cannot benefit from Primal Rage or other similar effects. So if you have a Evoker, a Shaman, a Mage, for example, in your group, they will not be able to use their Bloodlust, their Time Warp, or Fury of the Aspects. It is a shared cooldown, but this is your Bloodlust. If you don't know what Bloodlust is, or Heroism, it increases the haste by 30% for all party and raid members for 40 seconds, which is massive. It's generally known as the biggest cooldown in the game. We've then got some defensives here. Survival of the Fittest, reducing all damage you and your pet take by 30% for 6 seconds. It's actually got 2 charges. We've got Camouflage. You and your pet blend into the surroundings and gain stealth for an entire minute. While camouflaged, you're going to heal 2% of your maximum health every 1 second. And lastly, we've got Hunter's Mark. You can put this on before you go into combat, and you should always be doing this. It's actually going to increase the damage done to that target by 20% when they're over 80% health, and that's going to be for in the entire party and raid, not you, which is a phenomenal way to actually add damage for your entire group going into combat. And that is it for Hunters. Like I said, there's a lot of other ones. You've got, like, down here, Eyes of the Beast, you've got Eagle Eye. You know, there's so many utilities that we do have available to us as a Hunter. Scattershot, Scare Beast, Tar Trap, you know, the list goes on. But again, these are the ones that I think are the really core and important ones going into the War Within that you should know. Now let's look at the exciting bit, which is, of course, the rotation for Survival Hunter. Now, in both Mythic Plus and Raiding, for the War Within, we will be going with Sentinel. It just happens to be the best one to go with. And I will be going over the full hero talents shortly in this video. But what are we actually doing for the rotation? I'm going to do this in a kind of what, when, why scenario. What spells do we have? When are we using them? Why are we using them? So the first one we're using is our Mongoose Bite. And if you are playing as BM or marksmanship before, you may not realise that Survival is actually a melee class. So we're going to do Mongoose Bite as our first attack. And that is going to put this dot on our enemy, Serpent Sting. So you may be saying, is it Raptor Strike? Is it Mongoose Bite? Well, here on the talents, we get Raptor Strike. It just does physical damage. But then here we get Mongoose Bite, which replaces that ability. A brutal attack that deals massive amounts of damage and grants you Mongoose Fury. What does Mongoose Fury do? It increases the damage of Mongoose Bite and the chance for Kill Command to reset by 2% for 14 seconds, and that can stack. And Kill Command is another ability I'll be going over shortly. Then we have here Viper's Venom. Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite, so in our case it's Mongoose Bite, apply Serpent Sting to your target. It's a poison-tipped arrow that deals nature damage instantly and an additional amount over 12 seconds. So we're going to want to use our Mongoose Bite as our number one priority to keep up our Serpent Sting. Then we're going to use our Wildfire Bomb, hurling a bomb at the target, exploding for fire damage in a cone and coating enemies in wildfire, scorching them for fire damage over 6 seconds. Deals 80% increased damage to your primary target. Now, the reason we're actually going to put this on is to actually have something here you can see on the floor, Lunar Storm. Damage taken from me and my pets is increased. So we're then going to use our Wildfire Bomb to get that debuff up on our target. We're also going to use Wildfire Bomb at that point, even if we already have Lunar Storm up, if we're going to cap on 2 charges of Wildfire Bomb. In a lot of specializations, one of the main things you don't want to do is cap on charges, and we'll always be using them. If we've got no more Wildfire Bomb charges left, we're then going to use our Coordinated Assault. You and your pet charge your enemy, striking them for a combined amount of damage, and you and your pet's bond is then strengthened for 20 seconds, causing us both to do increased amounts of damage. While Coordinated Assault is active, your Kill Command chance to reset, its cooldown is increased by 15%. And that's this one over here. Again, we're going to get to that in a minute. After you use Coordinated Assault, use Spearhead. You give the signal, and you and your pet charge target, bleeding them for damage over 10 seconds, and increasing your chance to critically hit on your target. Then what we have, if you're thinking, why have I put 4 abilities down here? Well, after that point, the next priority is using something called Tip of the Spear. Kill command increases the direct damage of your other spells by 15%, and that can stack up to 3 times. Right, I've said kill command enough now, let's just talk about what it is. Kill command, give the command to kill, causing your pet to savagely deal damage to your enemy. Kill command has a 20% chance to immediately reset its own cooldown. So when we use kill command, and it can stack up to 3 times, we're going to get this here, Tip of the Spear. Our next ability is going to deal more damage. And basically, we're going to use that Tip of the Spear buff in this order of importance. Flanking Strike, Wildfire Bomb, Kill Shot if it's available, and then Explosive Shot. So basically, are any of these spells available in this order? If the answer is yes, then we're going to use them. So if we've got Tip of the Spear and this is available, use it. If it's not, then use Wildfire Bomb. If it's not, because we've used both our charges, then use Kill Shot. We can't use Kill Shot because that's only available when the enemy is under 20% health. Okay, well, we use Explosive Shot. All right, well, we can't use anything. So we're going to move on down the rotation even further. Hopefully that makes sense. Then we're going to use our kill command. Now, it does generate 15 focus, so you do want to make sure we're not overcapping focus, which is our main hunter resource. If we will overcap on focus, keep going down. We're going to use, again, our Wildfire Bomb at this point, if we do have any left to spend. And then Mongoose Bite, basically just as a filler. And this is quite a good way to spend our focus. So use your Mongoose Bite to keep up Serpent Sting, use your Wildfire Bomb charges, use Coordinated Assault, and then Spearhead. We're going to skip these because we haven't got Tip of the Spear. And now we can then use it on Flanking Strike. And now we've got an extra proc kill command, so we can use it on Wildfire Bomb. And then again, we can use it on Explosive Shot, etc. But Serpent Sting has come off, so we're going to reapply that. And then any procs on any other spells you can use. And that generally is how the rotation is going to go in single target. I'm doing it a bit shoddily there as I'm talking you through it and, not actually looking at really what I'm doing properly. But that is the general premise of the single target rotation. Now we're going to look at the Mythic Plus rotation. So if we actually switch over to the Mythic Plus talent build, you can see there is a few talents changing. Not too many, really. The main one I'd say is Butchery. Attack all nearby enemies in a flurry of strikes, dealing damage. Deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets and reduces the remaining cooldown on Wildfire Bomb for each target that you hit. Obviously, it's AoE. It's really good for that reason. We also get Merciless Blows, where casting Butchery makes your next Raptor Strike or Mongoose Bite hit 3 targets, again, making that into a multi-target attack rather than single target. And in the Mythic Plus build, we're not going with Mongoose Bite. It is going to stay as Raptor Strike. Apart from that, we've got Contagious Reagents. Reapplying Serpent Sting to a target also spreads it to 2 nearby enemies. Again, adding a bit more of multi-target into there. So the rotation itself is generally very similar, as you can see here. We're pretty much going to be going in using our Wildfire Bomb charges and then going in when we've got no charges with Coordinated Assault. Then it's going to be spend your Tip of the Spear in a Flanking Strike and then a Wildfire Bomb and then an Explosive Shot priority. I don't know if I actually explained what Flanking Strike done before. You and your pet leap to target and strike it as 1, dealing damage. Tip of the Spear grants an additional 15% damage to Flanking Strike, and Flanking Strikes generates 2 stacks of Tip of the Spear. So it kind of is a bit of a symbiotic relationship with Tip of the Spear with Flanking Strike. Again, using kill command if it's not going to overcap us on focus, using our Wildfire Bomb charges. Then we're going to use Raptor Strike to consume the Merciless Blows buff. Casting Butchery makes your next Raptor Strike hit more targets. So although it's ahead of Butchery, what we're saying here is it's a higher priority if you have that buff to use Raptor Strike. If not, use Butchery. Oh, we've used Butchery and now we have Merciless Blows, so we're going to use Raptor Strike. So kind of like going back and forth. Then use Kill Shot if it's available, and if not, then just use Raptor Strike to dump focus and use it as a filler. And that is the changes we're making in the Mythic Plus rotation. It's pretty much the same thing with just a few small tweaks. So for this build, we are going with Sentinel as the hero. Oh my god, that's like a hair in my eye. Sentinel as the hero talents. Basically, we're going to get an owl. We're going to be like imploding stuff. There's stacks of stuff going on. Let's get into it. I do actually want to first say this isn't adding to the rotation. This is already built into the rotation. So we're really looking at the why. You know, the rotation is the what. This is kind of the why we're doing what we're doing, or part of it. And I just want to go a bit deeper than I usually would because it's the new thing, you know, hero talents. So Sentinel, your attacks have a chance to apply Sentinel on the target, stacking up to 10 times. While Sentinel stacks are higher than 3, applying Sentinel has a chance to trigger an implosion, causing a stack to be consumed on the target every second to deal more damage. Then we have Don't Look Back. Each time Sentinel deals damage to an enemy, you gain an Absorb Shield, lovely, some survivability. Release and Reload. When you apply Sentinel to a target, you have a chance to get a second stack. Then we've got a choice node, eyes closed for 8 seconds after activating your coordinated assault cooldown. All abilities are guaranteed to apply Sentinel. You can also go for whenever Sentinel deals damage, the cooldown of coordinated assault is reduced. In the middle, we've got when you apply Sentinel to a target not affected, you gain an additional stack. A utility choice here, Catch Out. When a target is affected by Sentinel, deals damage to you, they're rooted, but it can only happen every minute to each target. Or when Sentinel starts dealing damage, the target is snared. Personally, I like the snare. Symphonic Arsenal. Multi-shot and butchery discharge arcane energy from all targets affected by the Sentinel, dealing arcane damage to loads of targets in the area, which is fantastic for AoE or multi-target damage. Sentinel Precision, Raptor Strike even, Mongoose Bite and Wildfire Bomb deal more damage. Invigorating Pulse. Every time your Sentinel deals damage, it has a chance to generate some focus for you. And then another choice node, Overwatch or Crescent Steel. Overwatch, all Sentinel debuffs implode when a target is affected by more than 3 stacks of your Sentinel falls below 20% health. Or targets you damage below 20% health gain a stack of Sentinel every 3 seconds. I like Crescent Steel. And finally, Lunar Storm. And this is where it gets really interesting. Every 15 seconds, your next Wildfire Bomb summons a Celestial Owl that conjures a 10-yard radius Lunar Storm at the target's location for 8 seconds. What does this do then? Well, a random enemy affected by Sentinel within your Lunar Storm gets struck for arcane damage very quickly every 0.4 seconds, and any target struck by this effect takes more damage from you and your pet. So it sounds all quite complex with Sentinel. It's really not. You know, we're getting stacks of Sentinel on the enemy, and then it's going to implode and do damage, and then there's kind of just adding to that with a few utilities and survivability. That is really all that is actually happening. And then there's the Lunar Storm, and when they're standing in the Lunar Storm, they're going to take more damage from you and your pet. And that is the Sentinel hero talents we will be taking. Finally, we're going to look at the consumables and enchants, etc. that we're using. So in the War Within, a few things have changed. Nerubian Gem Weavers. These are the new things you get in the weekly vault that you can add sockets to your gear with. So you're going to get them on the head, the wrist, and the waist, or at least that's where you can use them, should I say. You'll also notice these magnificent jeweler's settings. Basically, you can now add 2 sockets to your neck and 2 to each ring, rather than just adding 3 sockets to a neck. So 2 on the neck, 2 on the ring, 2 on the ring. Chant of Winged Grace gives avoidance and takes away some fall damage on your cloak. On your chest is Crystalline Radiance, giving you, primary stat, Chant of Armored Avoidance gives you some avoidance. Going to put an armor kit on our legs. Defender's March or Scout's March. It's up to you which one you go for here. I like Scout's March as it gives speed, so you can get around quicker and a bit more mobility. Critical Strike is generally the best enchant for the rings, but if you are simulating, do be careful to check which is the best secondary stat for you, and the Authority of Radiant Power is going to be on your weapon enchant. Basically, dealing damage has a chance to smite your enemy with Radiant Power, and then also massively increase your primary stat as well. And that is what that weapon enchant will do. Then, looking at the actual consumables, I would just say to go for the Flask of Tempered Versatility, because it's a very general flask, like we did in Dragonflight. Same in the War Within. You can just use that to get more versatility. Feast of the Divine Day, pretty obvious on why we're using a feast. Tempered Potion, this is really interesting. This is actually going to increase all your other secondary stats that you're not using on your flask. Algari Healing Potion is the healing potion for the War Within. Algari Mana Oil, again, adding haste and crit, I think it is, off the top of my head. I filmed so many of these. I'm like, is that what it is? It is, on the Mana Oil for your weapon. And if you are using an Augment rune, these are called Crystallized Augment runes. This just gives you a bit more primary stat, but are generally very expensive. And then sockets, Culminating Blasphemite. Basically, it adds primary stat, and it's also going to add 0.15% critical effect, not chance, but effect, per color gem you have. So if you're using a ruby, an onyx, a sapphire, and an emerald, it's 4 times 15, so you're going to get 0.60%, so 0.660, not 60%, 0.60% increased critical effect. If you're only using rubies, you're only going to get 0.15%. Hopefully that makes sense. Once you've used one of each color, feel free to go ham, depending on what you need for your character, if you're simming, etc., or based off the stat priority I showed earlier, depending if you're a beginner or not, for the rest of the gems. But on your first 4 gem sockets, do try and get one of each color for your Culminating Blasphemite. Thank you so much for watching this guide. I hope it was really useful for you in the War Within Season 1, whether it was for Mythic Plus or raiding. If you do have any questions, I'll be happy to help. My Patreon is in the description below, and that is where you can find my LVUI profiles, which I'll show you in a second. And also, I'm putting together a huge macro list for every single spec that's going to be really useful for you in the War Within as well. I am doing all classes and specs for the War Within, so if you are new to the channel, then please do click this playlist here to check out what else I have, which is all of them. There will also be PvP guides on this channel as well for War Within Season 1, so make sure to look out for that. This here is the UI that I was referring to. As you can see, we've got target frames, etc., left and right, and raid frames go in the middle here, and then weak auras in the middle with an action bar down here. Chat is behind where my camera is. Minimap and details, etc., are here on the right. All of the plater profiles, the voodoo, the LVUI, etc., details profile has all been made by me. And again, you can get this on my Patreon should you like it.